They said to me, that's your intro. I'm like, I have an intro? So South African. Hello, how are you? Okay, this is really weird. So, can I just share? I should get rid of my gum. Is that going to be filmed? Wait 1 second. What gum? Okay, so can I just tell you about my weekend? Because nobody's asked me yet. Can I just talk about it for a second? It's like the elephant in the room for me. Can we dim these a little bit? Is that possible, Mr. Lighting person? Is that possible? Can you dim them? It's so blinding. So, hi. So I live in Israel. And here's the deal. So it's my 25th anniversary on Wednesday. Yes, very exciting. And so my husband and I were planning on going to Rome for our 25th anniversary. And then Sani and Daba called and said, oh, will you come to Cape Town? And I was like, I'm like, oh, Cape Town, that's a nice destination. It's a nice place to visit. So we were just here a little while ago. We love it here. We lived in Johannesburg for 2 years, like a million years ago. So I said, okay, we'll go. We'll make a whole vacation out of it. We'll go. We're going to leave Wednesday and get here Thursday and then do this whole thing and then stay like a week and our anniversary's on Wednesday and go back. That was the plan. My married daughter was going to babysit, my little kids at home. Like the whole thing was set. Ha 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 ha. Man plans, God laughs. That was God laughing at me. So last Thursday night, my daughter's had a cold and she said, Mommy, I feel like I can't breathe. Well, that's like not what you want to hear your daughter say. So fine, I put her to bed, I left the window open. Okay, the next morning she goes to school. They call me can you dim them even more? Is that possible? It's so hard to see. Do you mind? Next morning they call me from school and they're like, your daughter's in the office crying, she can't breathe. So I spent the whole day in the ER. We went to the doctor, he gave her a shot, he called an ambulance, he sent us right to the hospital. So I spent the whole day in the ER. So I call Sani Dav and I say I wait the weekend, she's not okay, we don't know what's wrong, I'm going to this doctor, this allergist, this thing, that, I don't know what's wrong. And she still feels like my throat. It's not allergies. Anyway, I call, I say, I don't know if I can come. So my husband cancels, he stays home. So they're so amazing, the Sinai and Daba team. They say, how about if you come Thursday? Could you come Thursday? Day more to make the decision. I'm like, fine. So we wait more day. I'm like, okay, I think she's fine. I think I can come. So Thursday, instead of an anniversary, hoo-ha, I'm fine, I'll get on flight Thursday. I get on flight Thursday. I have a stopover in Istanbul. Long story short, I miss my connecting flight. Like a million little things, I miss my connecting flight. It's 2:30 in the morning, and I'm in Istanbul, and I miss the flight. And I'm like, what do I do? Do I go home to Israel? So I decide I'm going to stay in Istanbul for Shabbos, like blind. Like everybody's asleep. I have no idea what I'm doing for Shabbos. I'm like, there's got to be a Chabad here. There's a Chabad everywhere. So there will be a Chabad. So fast forward 5 hours, there's a Chabad. The Chabad rabbi's in America, and his wife is not having guests. So I'm like, But I have a friend who knows her, so she had me for Shabbos anyway, but it was just me and her kids, so I didn't feel like I was imposing at all. She was extremely gracious. And when I get to her house on Friday, she lives on a hill that goes like this, like a Cape Town hill. So I say, wow, I wouldn't want to be here when it's icy. She's like, oh yeah, when it's icy, they cancel school because everything's... Okay, I wake up Shabbos morning, it's snowing. Never talk about a place being icy. That was what I learned. So I'm like, is this normal? She's like, no, this never happens. It snows all day Shabbos. So now I'm supposed to catch my flight to come here Saturday night, 2:30 in the morning. So the flight was delayed 2.5 hours. And that is why I just got to Cape Town like 25 minutes ago, because I just got off the plane. Yes, thank you. My head is like totally spinning. Can they be dimmed anymore? Is he gone? Like all that, and like at least I want to be able to see you, crying out loud. More? A little bit more? I'm like squinting. Okay. This class is about the power of women, which I embody today, let me just tell you. All my friends are like, better you than me, man. I'd be crying. So here's the thing. Judaism is very, very reliant on the power of women. And unfortunately, for some reason I don't understand, this seems to be like one of the best kept secrets, and it is my total soapbox that women are this incredible power within the Jewish people, and we don't even know it. And then we give away our power, and we want something that isn't necessarily where we're going to really be able to impact the most, because we don't understand what our impact is. Jewish women have changed the world, and we've changed Jewish history. And I'd like to just take a fast-forward tour through the Torah and highlight some of the moments where that's happened. In picking those moments, I really had to choose carefully, because there are just so many. When I told somebody I was giving a talk on the power of women, they said, oh, who are you going to, which women are you going to talk about? So I told them, the 5 or so incidents that I'm covering. They're like, what about this one? How could you leave out that one? What about this one? What about that one? I'm like, I know, that's the point. There are so many Jewish women in Jewish history who have had an impact, and we should know this, and our girls should know it. I have a bat mitzvah program that I teach online, and the first class is the power of women in the Torah, because this is something that, girls that are about to become women need to know, how powerful an impact Judaism has placed on Jewish women and how we've changed the course of history. So let's start at the beginning. The first woman was Eve, right? What's her Hebrew name? Chava, right? What is Sarah's Hebrew name? What is Rebecca's Hebrew name? What is Rachel's Hebrew name? What is Hannah's Hebrew name? Hannah, right? You see how it goes together? Sarah, Sarah, Rebecca, Rivka. That's like, it's very close to translated. Chava, Eve. What happened? Should have been Chava, Hava, or have another, right? Why isn't it? It's Hannah became Hannah. Why didn't Chava become Hava? Why did she become Eve? So I've never seen this inside, but someone who knows, somebody's in a position to know, told me that when other people, not Jews, were translating the Bible into English, so they see that whole story of what happened in the Garden of Eden as woman is evil incarnate. So they named her Eve. And we walk around calling her Eve. Oh, that's not her name. Her name is Chava. It comes from Aim Kol Chai, the mother of all life. So at the moment that Chava is created, my point of saying that is we don't even realize how these foreign ideas have slowly sort of sifted into our understanding, and then we have complaints, but they're not really on Judaism. They're on some other thing that we bought into, that it was never Judaism to begin with. When Chava is first created, so the Torah calls her what? Anybody know the Hebrew? God says it's not good for Adam to be alone. I heard somebody say it's not good, but it's not bad. It's not good for Adam to be alone. I will make him a Ezer Kenegdo, a helpmate opposite him. So when you look at the Torah black on white and you read those couple of verses, you see man is like this main event, and woman is created to be his helper. Like she's there to help him out. Isn't that cute? So when you hear that man's the main thing and you're there to be his helper, how does that make you feel? Not great, right? Like, what? He's the main thing and I'm just helping? Like, what is that about? So you have to understand what it means to be a helper. My husband says a thinking person will be bothered when they read the Torah. And if you're not bothered, you're probably just not paying attention. The Torah is purposely written in a way that will bother the reader because the Torah is written in code. So how do you know when you're reading code? The way that the code looks is anything that goes funny in the text. The grammar goes funny. The pronouns don't match. Something is singular when it should be plural, or it's a different word choice. Even if something is spelled wrong, we have a concept when we're learning Torah, even if there's an extra letter or a missing letter, all of that, we jump on that to understand what is that telling us. And when you're reading the Torah, you're looking for something that doesn't make sense, something that bothers you, that jumps out at you. And as soon as you find that, that's your crack in the matrix. That's the red flag. Dig here. There's something hidden here. So when you're reading the Torah, you have to know you're not just reading text, you're cracking code. And everything is significant when you crack code. If you get one letter wrong in a code, you can mess up the whole message. So Chava is created to be this Ezer Kenegdo, a helpmate opposite him. So let's look at that word helper for a second. What does it mean to be a helper? You have to look deeper. Nobody likes to be taken superficially. Not you, not me, not the Torah. In order to understand what the Torah means, you have to look deeper, a little bit deeper. What does it mean to be a helper? A doctor and a patient. Who's helping who? A teacher and a student. A parent and a child. Who's helping who? Genuine help means the recipient of the help lacks and needs something that the helper has in abundance more than the recipient. We're not talking assistance, here, hold this. A coffee table could do that. We're talking genuine help. So if I want to learn French, I have to go to someone whose knowledge of French is superior to mine, otherwise she can't help me. Do you see that? Even if I'm a doctor, if I need medical advice, I have to go to a doctor whose medical knowledge is superior to mine, at least in that area. Otherwise, she can't help me. Genuine help means the helper has something, is superior in some way to the recipient of the help. Otherwise, they're not in a position to help. In the Shemona Esrei every day, we say God is Melech Ozer. He's the king who helps God and humanity. Who's helping who? And the word used for God, Ozer, is the same as the word used for woman, Ezer. Isn't that interesting? Ozer, Ezer, same word. So going back to our text, you have man and woman. Who's helping who? So if women are helping the men, what that must mean is that women are superior to men in some way, otherwise they couldn't help. Do you see that? It's very obvious. So the question becomes, in what way are women superior to men? I mean, how long do I have, right? Like you can't, my mother-in-law has a sign in her bathroom. It says, if a man speaks in the woods and there is no woman to hear him, is he still wrong? You know the question? Yeah. So, well, let's be humble. Let's not bash men. Men are great. We know a lot of great men. You're not superior at everything, right? Your doctor is medically superior to you. It doesn't mean she's a better parent than you, or a better cook than you, or a better person than you. She just knows more about medicine than you do. So there must be some specific way in which women are better than men. What is the area of their superiority? So in order to understand this, we have to pan back. Where are they standing when this story happens? Where are they? They're in the Garden of Eden, right? Isn't that right? Everybody knows that, right? They're in the Garden of Eden. So what are they wearing? Nothing. So what does that mean? No laundry. Now, you live in South Africa. Do you know what laundry is? You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, fine. And what did they eat? Fruit. So what does that mean? No shopping, no cooking, no dishes, none of that, right? And where did they live? They have a condo somewhere? Oh, they lived in the garden, right? So what does that mean? This is not domestic help at all. That is not what she's there to help him with. Put that over there. The rabbis also point out no one had a job, not men, not women. They didn't need money. No one had a career. So that's not what she's there to help with. They didn't even have kids yet. So what is she there to help him do in this garden? Weed? What is she created to help with? So we understand the Garden of Eden was an existence on a spiritual plane. We believe it was a physical place, but they existed on a spiritual level that we can't even relate to. They had this direct relationship with God. So it's in that area, in that arena of spirituality where she has an edge that men don't have. And what she's created to help him do is to navigate the world in this spiritual realm, which is really what we're all doing here. The last class I just taught is called the 5 levels of the soul. I only got to teach like 2/3 of it, but the idea of the 5 different levels of our soul and what we're doing on planet Earth, this is not like whoever dies with the most toys wins. You're here for a reason. You're here to choose better every single time. You are here for you are a spiritual being having a physical experience. Judaism teaches us you are a soul, you just have a body. And we get so confused because we live in a physical world, and we have to live in this physical world and yet choose soul and navigate soul all the time. We have to see through so much stuff just to live a life of meaning, just to live a life of integrity. And the more we get into technology and the more we get into advertising and TV, we see more images in one day than people saw in a lifetime. And you have to navigate all of those messages that are being thrown at us all the time. And remember, you're a soul. Choose soul things. It's like the stakes have never been higher with what could be in a person's home and how confused we could be about what we're really doing here. It's never been more important for women to be leading in this arena than it is now. So way back in the beginning, when women are first created, we see that women are created with this spiritual edge. Now, Chava wasn't necessarily Jewish. She's Aim Kol Chai. She's the mother of all life. So this is true for all women, Jewish or not Jewish. And you see this cross-culturally where they talk about women's intuition, and like you see this everywhere. But Judaism took this ball and ran with it. We legislate based on a woman's sense of spirituality in her closeness. And so many of the mitzvot that men have that women don't, and mitzvot that women have, it's because we have this edge spiritually. The men have to do things that we don't have to do, and then we sit there and go like, yeah, but why can't I do that? And I understand where that's coming from. But we have to take Judaism on its own terms and be able to understand, well, why are those mitzvot different? Forget what I think for a second. Let me suspend my own judgment for 1 second. What does the book say? Oh, I can totally disagree with it. I'm not telling anybody what to think. Judaism is very into, you have a brain for a reason. Use it. You know, they say like 2 Jews, 3 opinions. We're very into questions. We're very into many different ways to see something. But if we see something that bothers us, the first question should be is, well, why is it like that? Where is that coming from? Then argue with it, no problem. But to walk up to a culture and say, I know why you do that, how do you know? How do you know? They call us the people of the book because we wrote it all down after thousands of years and being in every country from Babylon and Syria and France and Spain and everywhere we've been in the world, we have culled the wisdom of thousands of years. And now it's all available, like Rabbi Google. It's so easy today. It's so easy today to find the answers. So Chava is created with this spiritual edge, and she's just the first in a long line of strong Jewish women. Let's fast forward. The next Jewish woman we meet is Sarah. Sarah is Abraham's wife. There are, how many patriarchs are there? Do you know? How many? 3. What are their names? Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And how many matriarchs are there? 4. And what are their names? Oh, your kids are getting a good education. Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. Why are there 4 matriarchs but only 3 patriarchs? Why aren't there 4 matriarchs and 4 patriarchs? What happened to the 4th patriarch? Yeah. I'll repeat it. Yaakov marries. He married Rachel and Leah, right? Why? Lavan tricked him, right? And why did Leah want to marry Yaakov? Right, why not? He was a Rasha. Excellent. What's her name? What? Meira. Give Meira a round of applause. That was awesome. Esav was supposed to be the fourth patriarch. This shows you how much you can lose if you choose wrong. It was supposed to be Yaakov marries Rachel, and they have 6 tribes. And Esav marries Leah, and they have 6 tribes. And the Jewish people are supposed to be descended from 4 patriarchs and 4 matriarchs. And if you choose wrong, you can lose everything. And it says that at the end of days, there will be the 3 patriarchs, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov will be sitting, and Sarah, Rivka, and Rachel and Leah will be sitting, and there'll be a 4th chair that will be empty, that should have been Esav's. And he will step forward and he'll say, no, but I only did all of that to help the Jewish people. Esav's the father of Rome and of Western civilization, and everything that we did was just to help the Jewish people. And it will be revealed, no, it wasn't. Everything you did was for you, and everything you did was selfish. And he will not be allowed to sit in that 4th chair. But you have 4 chairs filled by the women. Sarah was the first of those women. So Sarah was initially called Sarai, which means my princess. Her name was changed from a yud to a hey, Sarah, which means the princess, everyone's princess. And she and Abraham were married for many years, as you know. You all know the story. They weren't able to have children. Sarah insists that Abraham marry Hagar. Hagar was actually an Egyptian princess. When Avram and Sarah were in Egypt, the Egyptian princess saw them and would rather live her life as the maidservant in Avram and Sarah's tent than as the princess in Egypt. So she leaves with them and she goes to be their servant. And Sarah says, why don't you marry Hagar? Maybe you and Hagar are supposed to have a child, and that's what God means by this promise that we're going to have children that are going to fill the world. Maybe you're going to have a child biologically with Hagar, and then I'll raise him. Maybe that's what they're trying to figure it out. Like, what is God talking about? He says we're going to have these children in this nation, and yet Sarah has no womb and she's barren. So Abraham and Hagar have a child right away, Ishmael, our cousin. We're hoping to have a little reunion soon. It's quickly in our days, right? She had this child, Ishmael, and Abram says to God, is that what you mean? Like Ishmael? Should I do that? And God says, no, it's going to be Sarah's child. Sarah needs to be in on this. Eventually, as we know, Avram and Sarah have Yitzchak, and Ishmael's not a good kid, and he's a bad influence. And Sarah had thousands of students, and Avram had thousands of students, all kinds of influences. And yet Sarah, when she sees Ishmael, she says to Abraham, this cannot be. If we are raising the next in line for the Jewish dynasty, we cannot have Ishmael in the house also. He needs to go. Now, Abraham is very upset about this because Abraham's main characteristic is chesed, is kindness. Turn out his own son, it goes against everything he stands for. So he turns around and he says to God, what do I do? And God says to Abraham, one of my favorite verses in the Torah, everything your wife says, you listen to her voice. God himself says this to Abraham. Is this a religion or what? Rashi, on the spot, says Sarah's level of prophecy was higher than Abraham's. Do you understand what that means? It means here we have the founding fathers of the dynasty of Judaism, and the rabbis themselves are testifying, yeah, but his wife was on a higher level. If we fast forward a little bit, we're able to juxtapose Sarah's tent with something that came very central later. So Sarah's tent had a few miracles surrounding it. Anybody know the miracles surrounding Sarah's tent? Shabbat candles lit, week to week. Good. What else? The what? The challah. Good. The challah stayed fresh from week to week. And one more? The Shekhinah. The Shekhinah, the presence of God, was there with a cloud that hung over the tent. And these are the 3 miracles that were in Sarah's tent all the time. When Sarah died, they disappeared. When did they come back? When Yitzchak married Rivka. When the next Jewish woman came back, these miracles reappeared. They were not there for Avraham and Yitzchak. When Sarah died, they were gone. When Yitzchak married Rivka, they came back. Fast forward about, 1,000 years, maybe two. We have the Beit HaMikdash. What miracles did we have in the Mishkan, also in the desert, and in the Beit HaMikdash? What miracles did we have? We had, over the Mishkan, we had the cloud. We had the challah that stayed fresh from week to week. And we had the menorah that stayed lit from every time day to day when they lit it. The miracles in Sarah's tent were the precursor to the miracles in the temple. The temple is based on the tent of Sarah and then of Rivka. And it says when the temple was destroyed, what took the place of the temple? Not the synagogue, the Jewish home. Because the home is where Judaism happens. Imagine, this is a caricature, but just imagine this for the example for a second. Imagine a kid who grows up in a place where they're going to the best Jewish school, whatever that means to you, and a wonderful synagogue. And they go to school at the Jewish school every day, and they go to the synagogue every Shabbat and every holiday, but at home, they have nothing. There's no Jewish values, no Jewish observances, no Jewish discussions, nothing. It's just the home is completely void of anything Jewish. So they've learned about a Seder, but they've never been to one. They've learned about Hanukkah candles, they've never lit them. They've learned about Shabbat, they've never sat at a Shabbat table. You have a question if that kid really gets what Judaism is all about. But then flip it. Imagine a child who's growing up in a place where there's no other Jews around anywhere. I was just in Istanbul. No other Jews around anywhere. I mean, not that are keeping all of the things that you're trying to inculcate into your children. So let's imagine they've never met another, Istanbul has Jews. Imagine they've never met another Jew. They've never been inside a synagogue. But at home, they have everything. They have Shabbat dinner, and they have a Seder, and they light the menorah on Hanukkah, and they talk about Jewish values, and they talk about Israel, and they give tzedakah. When you have a home that is filled with Jewish values, you have a Jew who understands what life is all about. That's the kind of kid that leaves home and goes to college and says, is there a Chabad here? Because, my family always did Shabbat dinner. That role is given to women because Judaism happens at home. The Jewish people is only here because the Jewish people have been raised in Jewish homes. It's not because of our beautiful synagogues, and it's not because of our amazing school, as amazing as they are, and you're all getting an amazing education, and that's great, but it's because of your mother. It's because of what happens at home. And of course, the father is very involved in that. And of course, we want active, parent. Of course, I'm not saying not. But the person who is at the helm of that is the mother, is the woman. Rivka, the next mother, the next Jewish woman in line. So she has two children, Yaakov and Esav. She's closer to Yaakov. She sees he's the one who's supposed to take the mantle. And her husband, Yitzchak, is closer to Esav. And Yitzchak is confused by Esav. Yitzchak kind of falls for it. Rivka sees exactly what's going on. And it comes time to get the birthright, which meant we have the baton of Judaism, this promise that hasn't even happened yet. And it needs to be handed over to the next in line. Who's it going to, Yaakov or Esav? And Yitzchak wants to give the birthright to Esav, which means Judaism is about to go off a cliff because Esav is not worthy and Yitzchak doesn't see it. Rivka sees it. And she tells her son Yaakov, you go in and you put this skin on your arm so you feel hairy like your brother, and your father is blind, he won't be able to see, and you get that blessing because Judaism has to continue with you. Now Yaakov is ish emes. He's a man of truth. You want me to go in and lie to my father? He's like, Mom, I can't. I just don't have it in me. And she says, you have to do this. The entire future of the Jewish people is counting on you doing this now. Your whole life's about this moment. And he says, if my father finds out it's me, he'll give me a curse. And she says, let your curse be on me. You go in and get that bracha. So he goes in, he gets the bracha, Yitzchak doesn't realize. Yaakov leaves. We know the story. Esav goes in. He realizes what happened. Esav cries 2 tears. Because of those 2 tears, the first and the second Beis HaMikdash were destroyed, which shows you can lose everything, but every merit you have, God sees. Every tear you have counts. Everything counts. Rivka finds out that Esav knows, and Rivka says to her son Yaakov, your brother is going to kill you, run for your life. Yaakov takes off. He goes to his uncle Lavan, Rivka's brother. He's gone for over 20 years. He never sees his mother again. She dies while he's away. He goes to Lavan, and there's these 2 sisters, like we said, like Meira said, Rachel and Leah. And Leah is supposed to marry Esav, but Esav, like we said, has opted out. And Rachel is supposed to marry Yaakov, but Leah, it says she had a naim rakos, she had soft eyes. We understand, the rabbis tell us she cried so much she lost her eyelashes. She had no eyelashes because she was crying so much because she didn't want to marry Esav. She wanted to be a part of the Jewish people. And Yaakov wants to marry Rachel, and they're afraid that Lavan, Rachel's father, is going to trick them under the chuppah and substitute Leah for Rachel. So Yaakov and Rachel make up signs. They have some kind of sign with each other so that under the chuppah she'll be able to give this sign so that he'll know it's really her. Comes the day of the wedding. We all know the story. And Rachel sees her sister. And the father's going to substitute Leah under the chuppah. And Rachel's like, how can I do this to my sister? She's going to be humiliated. And Rachel gives Leah the signs so that she can marry Yaakov instead of her. Now, you have to understand what was going on here. When Rachel gives Leah the signs, who is she betraying? She's betraying Yaakov. Because Yaakov could have turned around to her and said, Rachel, why do you think we had signs? We had signs so that I would know it's you. And you gave the signs to your sister. You betrayed me. We're done. By Rachel giving the signs to her sister, she was giving up everything she ever wanted because she couldn't bear the idea of her sister being embarrassed. We know the end of the story. Of course, Yaakov marries Rachel. He has these 2 wives, and the 12 tribes come from them. But in each one of these instances, what we see is that the women in the Torah are the ones who had the vision. And we see Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They are the patriarchs of the Jewish people. They're the founding fathers. They're the dynasty. We talk about them every day, and we use their merit every day. But it's the Torah that testifies that it was the women who were able to steer Judaism so that we could become who we are today. Quickly, just to finish, I'm holding up finish signs everywhere. When we move from the book of Genesis to the book of Shemos, the second book of the Torah, it talks about us being in Egypt. We go from micro to macro. We go from the individual to like the nation as a whole. And we meet the women of Egypt and the women of the desert. And these women are the ones who got us out of Egypt. It says, "B'schos nashim shekanios," because of righteous Jewish women, niga'alu miMitzrayim. It's because of the righteous Jewish women that we got out of Egypt in the first place. Once we're in the desert, we all know the story. They get to the sea splits, we're on the side of the sea. Moshe leads the men in song, and Miriam leads the women in song, and it says the women had tambourines. And we know the reason why the women had tambourines is because when they were leaving Egypt, they thought to bring them. Think about what that means. They couldn't even let the bread rise. Very often on Pesach, when I'm cleaning out the corners of my cabinets, I'm like, you couldn't have waited 20 minutes for the bread to rise? Did they know what they were going to do to Jewish women for the rest of eternity by not waiting 20 minutes? Okay, this is what it is. They didn't even have time for the bread to rise. Imagine you're packing and you have all these kids and you're running and you were born a slave. Your mother was born a slave. Your grandmother was born a slave. They were in Egypt. They were in slavery for 210 years. That's like 8 generations born into slavery. They didn't know anyone who knew anyone, with a couple of exceptions, who remembered being free. If I'm not a slave, who am I? And yet, the women had the vision and the presence of mind to say, if we're leaving Egypt, there's gonna be a reason to sing. And I'm gonna need a drum. You're gonna need a what? I'm gonna need a drum. I'm gonna need a tambourine. And they packed tambourines, and when it came to sing praise to God, they had tambourines. The sin of the golden calf, women were not involved. The sin of the spies, women were not involved. As you go through the entire Torah, we see again and again and again how the strength of Jewish women is what got us through. And here's what I want to close with. The Kabbalah teaches us that at the end of days, Mashiach will come, this anointed one, this Savior, this person. And it will usher in this time of world peace. The Lion will lay down with the Lamb, and we'll be back in Israel, and we'll have this unity with each other and with God. And we don't even really know what it means, but we don't stop dreaming, and we don't stop hoping, and we don't stop praying, because we all want peace, and we all want unity. But the Kabbalah says that the only reason why that final redemption will come will also be, just like Egypt was because of the women, the final redemption will also be because of the women. But when it says that the Jewish people were redeemed because of the righteous women, it's not talking about some other group. It's talking about you and me. It's talking about us. So the question becomes, how do you step into that? How do you become that? The Jewish women have always been these pillars of strength and these agents of change and these people of vision, of potential, of enabling other people to step into who they're supposed to be. How do you and I do that? So it's very simple. The people in your life were put there for a reason. First of all, yourself. People think that when you give to yourself, it's being selfish, and when you give to other people, it's being kind. That is a mistake. That is not Jewish. Judaism says, "V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha." Love your friend like you love who? Yourself. Kindness starts with you. You can't be nice to everybody else and ignore yourself and think you're being kind. It's a mistake. You have to take care of yourself first, which means, what are you doing to grow? What are we doing to be better people? I'm only talking to myself. What am I doing to invest in me? Physically, for sure. Get a manicure, get a pedicure, get a massage. Enjoy. Invite me. Let's go. It's a great thing. It's not like that's bad. That's good. And also, you have a mind and a soul and a heart, and you were put here for a reason. What are we doing to have that impact? Number one, take care of yourself. Number two, the souls that are put in your life, in your immediate orbit, are there for a reason. It's very easy to love all Jews. It's just your sister-in-law you have a problem with. You know what I mean? Come on. We're missing the point. The reason why these people are in our immediate orbit is because that's who you're supposed to have an immediate impact on. Being a good person, being an agent of change, being a person of vision doesn't happen tomorrow or next week or when you're on the stage. This is an illusion. I know I have to finish. Being a great person happens. As soon as I'm done talking, it's your turn. How do you greet the people around you? Do you smile? In Judaism, it's a big deal to be the person who smiles first. How do you treat the people when you go home today? How do you treat people tomorrow? You being the best you helps everybody else be the best them. You being kind and you being helpful gives everyone around us permission to be kind and helpful. You know when you want to do something but you feel shy, should I help that person? And somebody else gets up and then you get up and help also because now that somebody else broke the ice, you feel free to do it. Why not be that guy? Why not be that person? Becoming an elevated person that can change the world, the Jewish women have taught us, it happens at home. It happens small. It happens micro. I give us all a blessing that every single one of us should be able to step into that. Thank you very much.